Hello there, all you cool cats and kittens. I hope you're doing wonderful.
Yeah, anyone that can do high pressure sales, they're gonna have the capacity to self staging, absolutely.
Yep, absolutely.
And one of the things we might then start talking about, think about it, is how do you all become anti-fragile, right? How do you all sort of take advantage of these changes and improve, right? So that the opportunities are there. So,
just for a moment about this idea of if you want to look for top producing realtors, then then go all in and don't worry about speaking to those realtors that just began, and don't even, for that marketing message, worry about talking to homeowners. Like, go all in with who you really want to work with without apology. So yeah.
Yes, stop apologizing. Sorry if I'm going out of vision here. I'm going to Hey everybody, Shell Brodnax here with another episode of Stager Talk, and I'm so excited today because I have two guests. One who has joined me many, many times, Bobbie McGrath. Welcome.
Thank you, Shell. It's always fun to be with you.
Thank you. And my new guest, Kenney from Kenney and Associates in New York, New York. Welcome, first timer on the show.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So I'm totally jazzed. So Ann, I want to start with you.
Sure.
You, this year was your first time entering the awards, yes?
Yes.
Yay! And what happened, Ann? Kenney, tell the people.
Honest to God, I was so stunned to get your call, Shell. And, I was encouraged to apply every single year, apply for the awards, and I'm like, I don't have time. And finally, and this is aside of COVID and the quarantine, I had time to actually do the process, which I should have done all along. And lo and behold, I'm the most shocked of all that I won, two top categories. I am blown away. I am honored. I am thrilled, just really tickled. And I would encourage every single stager out there to, if you're not part of RESA, A, join RESA, and B, put in for the awards.
Okay, so now I have to add, and she's very humble as well, because, two top categories. Listen, people, this is what Ann won. She won the top luxury stager of the year and professional stager of year of all of North America. The very, very top award, the highest award in the country.
There you go.
At home.
There you
Thank
go.
you.
Now, looking
Thank
at your
you.
work, it's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Very well
Thank you
deserved.
so much. It's just been, it feels like the icing on the cake of working, almost 2 straight decades, just busting our chops, right? So it is really, I am very humbled.
And I'm telling you, so many people that I talk to, especially, well, obviously in the Rising Star category, that's for people who've been in business for less than 2 years. So they're relatively new. So they're submitting kind of right out of the gate. And they're always so shocked when they win. And I'm like, so many people that make these top 10s that, haven't done it before. And then there's the other half of them that keep doing it over and over. So a lot of people say, oh, the same people win every year and year. It's like, no, they actually don't, because we have rules that prevent that from happening. You cannot win in your category again in that particular year. So you can't run again. So we have that naturally built in, but there's so many new people that have decided, they went ahead and did it for their first year and they make it, and then they actually win in a category and they're super stoked about it.
Yeah, I really, really, to that point, I so encourage everyone to, people are talented at different levels, and it's just really very exciting.
Yeah, you bunch of overachievers, you enter your first time and you win, you take home the prize. But me, I start riding horses. I was last place 12 times one year. Last place 12 times. I sucked so bad I didn't even know how to wrap my brain around it. So it took a long time to be able to move on from that. So
But you now are a proud buckle owner. I know this.
Yes. I am, because what happened was I was obsessed with the cheating competition that was in my class, because there were people that had been riding horses for 20, 30 years.
Woo.
And I'd been riding for like 25 minutes. And
Right.
legit, I learned how to ride a horse and I entered in competition the same year. Like after 4 months of riding, and I was terrified. It was quite unusually to watch. It was horrible. But I went out and I did it. And I competed with people that I didn't recognize at first that had competed for that long, but they did. And I found out and I cried and whined about it to anybody that would listen and tried to, and then I actually did bully people a little bit.
No.
I'll say, I encouraged them with a lot of passion to move up to their level. In reality, you know, if you're supposed to be a newbie, be a newbie.
Right.
So that would be like Ann and Kenney competing in the Rising Star category, right? Against people that just started out in the last 2 years. So long story short, last place 12 times. I got a checkup from my neck up. I saw an equine performance counselor who gave me a test who said, great competition, scores that you have except for one area. And I was like, I failed that test. I'll take that again. I don't fail tests. And she's like, oh no, this is good. This is going to be good for you. She's like, you're obsessed with your competitors. And I'm like, no. I didn't understand. I do business coaching for real estate stagers who call me, and I speak to probably 3 or 4 a week who are obsessed with their competitors doing something. And I'm always preaching to them, don't worry about them. Focus on you. I mean, this is my soapbox. And you're saying that's what I do? And she's like, yeah, let me break it to you. So the next year I went out and we fixed that. So I won a state championship.
Okay, how did you fix that? I'm just curious. Because
I'll tell you, it was super easy. So again, I would go to my events the 12 times I lost, and I'd go out there and I'd get, you know, all anxious, and I'd go out there and then I'd sit and I'd just wait for them to call my name, because I knew they're calling my name because I'm going to place. Not last is what I was hoping. So every time I would place last, I would drive 2 hours. I'd drive 2 hours there, 2 hours home. On the way back, I would literally cry every single time. What do you want from me? I don't know what to do. So what I did was I legit went into it the next circuit the following year, and I knew what I needed to do, set my goals, worry about my goals. So with my horse, it was, I'm going to lope from point A to point B. I'm going to do a roll back here. I'm going to make sure I'm really looking forward when I go through this cowboy curtain, or whatever it allotted me to do. And I did that, and I only worried about what Luke and I were doing. I didn't even care about anything else. So the very first event that I had, it was really special because my best friend had passed away the month before, and I had just gotten in the night before this event from a funeral. So I drove the whole way there, crying the whole way there now instead of on the way home, and was just telling her, ride with me today. I got a new attitude. You know, I want you to see this. And they started calling my name, and I wasn't paying attention because I didn't care. And everybody was screaming for me. I'm like, what did I do? What's wrong? And they're like, you won. And I'm like, what did I win? And they're like, first place. And I'm like, I dropped around and just started crying. So for every other event that year, that's exactly what I did. I had a goal for myself and for Luke, and it's all we did. I didn't finish less than 4th that year, and I won a state championship.
Oh, Shell.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Night and day difference in your writing when you have your correct focus.
That's right.
I'm going to add one thing and then be quiet and listen to Bobbie. And that is that one of the reasons, you just made me realize, Shell, that one of the reasons I had not entered the awards before is that in New York, there's so many fantastic stagers that I just thought, why should I enter? I mean, there's so many, I'm not going to win anything. So I'm just proving your point here.
Yeah.
Right? But that's one of the reasons I just never did it. And I didn't really think about that until you started talking about your horse contest.
Yeah, it's true. And so many other stagers say the same thing when I ask them, because I always, you talk to people throughout the year. I'm like, hey, did you enter the awards? And, oh, no, I could never win. And I'm like, oh, girlfriend, we got to talk. You got to do it.
Right.
Well, they're guaranteeing they're not going to win if they
Guarantee.
Yeah, self-fulfilling prophecy, right?
Exactly.
Totally.
Half the business is showing up, and then so many things, because so many people, I almost said a bad word.
Okay.
A really bad word. People just don't show up, and it's like, come on, y'all, just show up. That's half the battle, is showing up.
I'm proof.
Because if you show up, you're beating out all the other people, the thousands of people that didn't show up. So you're already ahead of the game, right?
That's right. That's right. I know I encourage my students, my OCS students to enter, and I was like pushing it. And so they all entered the same category as me, little pressure. And I was so proud. 3 of them made the top 10, And then one was also one of the rising stars. I said, I'm more proud of you. I said, I was just like a proud mama. And it's like, just enter. So I thank you for talking about this, Anne, because that's what's important, is just give it a shot. And the thing is, if you don't place, if you don't win, look at the ones who did.
Exactly.
Study what you can from that and think, okay, so what could I change? Or, but look, it's a great learning. In fact, that's what I was encouraging all of my students. I said, use your voting time as a class. Sit and look. And I said, there's going to be some where you're going to go, and let's be honest, some where you're going to go, wow, interesting that they entered that. Why is that your impression? And then look at your work.
Yeah.
And then when you go, wow, when you see one where you go, wow, why do you have that reaction? Because all staging is reduced to those 4 margins, right? So that's fantastic. And I looked at your entrance. Of course, they're gorgeous, like gorgeous, gorgeous. So beautiful.
But what a great idea to really, because part of staging is really being able to articulate why you're doing something, right? Mm-hmm. So, or why you chose something. So really, that's a great exercise for students. I'm going to use that.
It is. And see, now that's the instructor coming out in Bobbie. Always trying to be helpful with others, because Bobbie won the RESA Approved Instructor of the Year award. So congratulations to you, Bobbie McGrath. You and Liliana Ward right now out of Florida, you are teaching more classes than anybody else. I know COVID has really slowed everything down, but you're able to do them online now. So you're teaching that. And I know that you have a lot of support from Lee Goldstein. So
who was Agent of the Year 2019.
There you go. Last year, he won that Agent of the Year. So they've kind of partnered up together now. And that's the other thing, is nominating your agents. I always look at that category, and there's like let me tell you something, people. In this particular category, the competition is real low. It's not that it's not fantastic. It is, because Lee's amazeballs, right? But it's usually only like 2 to 3 people, 2 to 3 stagers that will nominate their own agents. And it's like, if you've got your agents and you've got 2 or 3 top agents that you're working with, wow, what's some kudos to put your combined efforts together and nominate them, because they get a award, then they can do a press release on it, and then they can put that information out. And now Bobbie and Lee have partnered together, and he helps get her classes sponsored in places and helps promote it. And it's a really great partnership.
Currently advertising my class to 15,000 in North Carolina, because I'm doing it, here in our little squares. But he is now, we just spoke because I collaborate with my agents, and so we just connected. And so he's looking at a system that will allow that course to be spread out to all of the agents in all of North Carolina, which is like 50,000 agents.
Awesome.
So it's like, and so I even help him with his advertising. I mean, we really do collaborate. And I have another agent who was one of the top agents this year. She didn't win. I was like, ooh, I wish I could vote more than once. But Sonia May, and so she was one of the runner-ups, and she's phenomenal too. And she uses staging slightly different than Lee does. But they're both very, very proactive and advocates. And I was saying to my students, enter your agents. I said, my goal, my perfect world, every single one of the people would be our agents. And we can do that. Enter. So I saw you write that down, Anne. So,
I did write that down, because yes, absolutely. I think it's fantastic, because we do partner with our agents. I mean, that's really what we do. So good for you. Absolutely. That's a fantastic story, Bobbie.
Getting the word out to thousands and thousands of agents. So, Anne, just so you know, I used one of your winning photos before and after in my NAR presentation, because I'm speaking at NAR again, 2nd year in a row, everybody.
Oh, yay for you.
Yeah.
I actually heard that.
Winning the prize. That's winning a prize right there.
That is definitely, because I go over it, and so I give you a little plug on it, but I show one of those great pictures, the before and afters, to be able to get the point across in my only 45 minutes they gave us this year. Last year they gave us 15 minutes. Yeah. Did you know there was from what I was told, there was a couple thousand, like 2,000 submissions for speakers, and they only had 48 speaker sessions this year.
Yeah.
Oh.
I could have swore last year there was more sessions.
I'm going to touch the screen. yes, Shell's hot.
But I mean, in general,
Wow.
a big convention like that, I mean, I
Yeah.
know it's in person. I could have swore there was a lot more than only
Mhm.
40 or 50 sessions, but maybe not. I don't know. It seems like it would be because it was several days long.
Can I give a shout out to you for a moment?
Yeah.
Actually, to RESA. I think we all are. I'm still blown away by how quickly you pivoted to an online conference. The number of moving parts and technology, and I mean, it was brilliant and flawless. And just to the whole team, it takes my breath away.
Well, thank you. I will tell you that first, the whole story is so funny. I'll just tell it quickly. Gina, when COVID started happening, she's like, pull the plug, we gotta pull the plug. And I'm like, oh, hell no, I ain't pulling no plugs on nothing. Are you kidding me? This takes us a year to plan. I'm not abandoning ship. There's no way. It's gonna get over it. It's just a little bitty flu. It's not a big deal. Who cares? By July, it'll be fine. Literally over the course of a 4-day weekend,
Yeah.
my whole world changed.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, we gotta pull the plug. What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? So we did it. And then we said, what are we going to do? And so first you have to think of your plan of what you want to do. And then we have to try to get money back from different venues and keynote speakers, which we have not been able to do. And had to, try to give money back to people who didn't want to float their money over to the next RESACon or float it into the virtual one. And then you decide to do it virtual. And then you got to figure out what platform are you going to use. So then we have to do all these demos with all these companies. And then they're coming back with like $60,000 bids to pull off the event. And I'm like, we're not even going to pull that kind of money in for something like this. I'm like, we can't afford that. That's just crazy. So Felicia, amazing Felicia, and Joanna Fraley are my best friend. I love her. I know you. She's on here, so I know she's hearing
Shout
me.
out.
She's my girl. She is my bestie because she takes care of me, so I don't have to ask her for stuff. Like today, she sends me today's, stage or talk is this. These are your guests. These are the awards that they won. So I don't have to look it up. So the two of them together, pretty much single-handedly, they rebuilt the website that had to be all redone. We had to get with every single speaker and record their sessions and then, figure out how to do it. So what we do is we follow what NAR does. So, because they're the smartest people on earth planning the event. So what they do is they have you record your actual session, which is the best idea ever, is if you go live and you have a technical issue, then you've got
Brilliant.
crap ton of upset people that are on it, and they're just going to blame you no matter what. And anything can happen. Internets can go down. You name it, it can happen. So we pre-record those sessions so we avoid that technology disaster, and then we do the Q&A live. So it worked beautifully. But the girls all figured it out, and they got it done, and the website's built, and everything happened, and they provided all the tech support. We all took one session. I took one session because we did 3 at a time. So the 2 of them were in their rooms, and then I helped moderate for the other time slot, and it all worked out great. We loved it.
It was amazing.
I'm excited about it.
That's
Really?
great. It was amazing because I was able to look behind the curtain and see all of the many wheels that were going and the many, many decisions, and really literally the brick walls that were thrown up in front of them time and time again. And it was just like, they would do like one of 3 things. They would either go around the brick wall, they'd go over it, or a lot of times they would just break it apart and move on through. So
I got that C4s on back order in my basement, and I've just got a bunch of it sitting there. We just blow up obstacles. They hit us. It is not a big deal.
There you go.
So I always say obstacles are not there to keep you out. They're there to keep people out who do not want it badly enough. So if you want it,
write that down.
You did not want it badly enough. I guarantee it. Because for me, I mean, Bobbie, you know me for quite a while right now. If I want something, I will figure out a way to make it happen.
Don't get in her way. Don't get in her way.
Note taken.
Yeah, there you go.
Bobbie and I spoke at a entrepreneur convention event. It's almost 4 years ago, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
I think this November's 4 years. And I remember telling her, if I could just find a little horse farm somewhere to buy, just something little,
Wow.
do a little side hustle and, pay for my horse habit, and I could do more things and be more zen. And she's like, well, I will pray for you that you find this and you do this. And 1 year to the day after that,
Stop.
2 years to the day after that, my husband agreed to it. And I flew him to North Carolina to look at everything. That he agreed on that trip. And then 1 year to the date of that, we moved into our new home.
There you go.
Oh my God.
You know,
Yeah. So
in a tiny
That's
little
an
farm in North Carolina.
kind of amazing manifestation. Which, no, it is. And right, you can create it if you want it badly enough.
Yep.
Plant it out in the universe. I know it's sounding woo-woo, but you know, we use it in our work all the time, and it just, you know, and to attract the right clients. I don't know, Bobbie, do you have an element of this in your training at all about?
I do. I talk about,
affirmation.
you know, it's the occupied side that I train on. And so, because I did both sides of the business, and I realized I had vacant people that I could refer to, but I just felt like the occupieds weren't being addressed the way that I thought they should be. And I had always developed that portion. And so literally when I started my company, I used to sit out and I pray. So I would sit out in the driveway and I'd say, Lord, give me the eyes to see what I need to see and the words I need so they can hear me.
Yes.
They can get out of their way, right? So, because that's what happened. People get into their head, they get into their own way. So a key part of every training I do, anything I train on, the words you select mean things. And we can either speak out of a place of judgment, or we can be speaking out of a place of positive and empowering. So I call it my PE moves, right? Positive and empowering. So it's little things like I don't call things clutter. It's their shopping center, you know, and I just go through. And so that's my whole thing. So I encourage my students in things. It's like always look from what's the win for your client and present it in such a way that they feel uplifted and encouraged and not overwhelmed and depressed when you leave. Because on the occupied side, I mean, when we go in there, a lot of times we're dealing with some really negative reasons people are selling their house.
Right.
And to have that compassion, and I say this all the time, it's not our job to make that house look perfect. It would be great if we could. Our job is to make it look as good as possible based on their time frame and their budget.
Absolutely.
And they get to make the decision. So it's our job to give them the education so they can make educated decisions that will move them forward based for them. So no two consultations are the same. I provide a framework on things to look at and consider so that you have consistency in your business, which you need to for your marketing, and so that people know, so your agents know how to talk about your business. But the whole thing is always from that positive and empowering place. That's always, that's just, because this first stager I was ever around, when she came into my house, I know you don't know me, Ann, I'm not a crier.
Yeah.
She left, I sat on the sofa and cried.
I'm so thrilled to hear you talk about this, Bobbie, because I think that what you're teaching there is, I would say, a level of professionalism when it comes to staging. The way that you talk to your clients, there's a level of professionalism about that. I just was horrified to have one of our agents tell me that a job we did several years ago that was occupied, that I didn't know it, but the seller had asked for 2 other stagers to come in. The first one told her sofa was not just terrible, it needed to be thrown away. All of this, by the time he left, she was in tears. I never knew this before we came in. And then the second one did a similar situation and said, there's nothing I can do here because there's just whatever. And I'm so blown away by those stories in terms of how you could ever treat someone that way, and not honor them, and not honor them, basically. It's a level of respect, and I think that should be taught to every single stager. I love hearing you talk about that. I really do.
And thank you. I tell you what, there are times in my market where I'm not the first stager, I'm not the second stager, sometimes I'm the third stager. And I had one gal meet me at the front door. What are you going to tell me to do?
Right.
I didn't know I was the third stager. I knew that it was being relisted, and my agent was bringing me in. And when she told me the story, the first gal went in there, and this was like maybe, I mean, I was doing this 17 years now, so it was like 10 years ago. But the first gal came in and said, oh, your stuff's way too contemporary for our market. You pack all your stuff away and let me bring items in.
Exactly.
She brought in baby blue, yellow, and pink, and I swear to you, the canisters in the kitchen were geese.
Oh, stop.
And so it was like that. And then the second gal came in and said, oh, no, just take everything out. Well, it looked like the house was abandoned.
Yeah.
There was no love in it at all. So here I come in, and she's like, and I said, well, have you ever thought about maybe going a more contemporary line? Because she had very contemporary furniture. And she just like, and I said, tell you what, I said, let me go through your closets and your drawers and let me just see what I can find. So in the end, it was a very unusual staging, but in the end it worked out. The house sold in like 7 days.
Yeah.
And, but it was a really interesting experience, because when I heard the way that the previous stagers had spoken to her, and understand, I don't know if the stagers really spoke to her that way or not, but, and this is what I tell my students all the time, perception is reality. So what she did, what she took away, it doesn't matter, and it's, who's it, Maya Angelou, that said, it's not what you say, it's not what you do, it's how you make people feel. And that is the way that she felt from her interaction with those folks. So, you know, it's just like, it's so important to understand that. So I truly say, not everybody's meant to do the occupied side. And if you're not, get out.
Yeah.
Get out. Become a fantastic vacant stager. Own that. I look for those fantastic vacant stagers to refer to. I don't do that into the business. But if it's not your skill set, if you don't know how to come from that positive and empowering and confident and competency, if you don't come from that place, if you're making stuff up and you really don't know how to do things, and you're telling people to spend $12,000 on paint and granite, and you really don't know how to do colors, and you know, you kind of pick granite because you heard that was the granite of the year and all those kinds of things, shouldn't be in it, right? So it's like there's just so much more to it, and it's not about making the house look pretty. It's about making the house look marketable and leaving the clients in a better position than when they began. So that's so I love to hear that you're of the same mindset. That makes me so happy.
Oh, it is so, and you know what I'm really blown away by is that your focus is on occupied, because I cannot tell you the number of stagers who in our marketplace in New York City, they're like, oh no, they will, and good for them for not taking it, because, to your point, but very few stagers want to do occupied. I love doing occupied. Very few want to work with someone else's stuff and edit it out and say, well, we can use these 3 pieces and then we'll bring in extra and then we'll do this. We find that to be a wonderful, you know, some people have some fabulous stuff that we can work with. But the occupied part, I cannot tell you how often I hear, no, won't do occupied, we will only do vacant. And it blows me away. So the fact that you really, what made you want to emphasize that in your business?
A tick about this big. I actually had purchased 5 acres of property with a house on it. It was a ranch house. I was going to turn that into my office. I was meeting with the builder to build a big warehouse. I was going to go real gung-ho into the vacants and rent to other stagers in the area. Went there to figure out how we're going to place it on the property. And when I was there, unbeknownst to me, I'd been bitten by a tick, but I hadn't. And so, but I was like tired. I would fall asleep at stop signs. I don't know if I ever told you this story, Shell. I would stop at stoplights. I would fall asleep. So I got to the point where I would put my car in park and wait for somebody to honk, and then I would drive. I couldn't think straight. It was, long story short, it was Lyme's disease. I had been told to go in and get tested from someone who, I didn't have all of the regular symptoms, but I got in there soon enough to have the 29 days worth of antibiotics. So it's not systemic, I'm fine. But through that whole thing, all I could think about was that warehouse, about the racks, about, okay, I should probably buy another truck. And I was thinking all that stuff. I could barely speak. And then all of a sudden I just went, what am I doing? because the vacant side did not make my heart sing. It was like I was like I did it. I had crews, I had all that, but I was like, and then I got to thinking, you know, I love it when I go in and someone's like this at the door. Hi, come on in. I know my stuff's not really good, and I know, you know, we don't have any money, and I loved it when I left the house. And even if they don't have money to paint and they don't have money for me to bring accessories and stuff in, but when they walk me to the door and they're like, okay, I know we got a lot to do, but when they don't tell anybody, you didn't even have to pay me for that. Do you know what I mean? It was like,
I do.
I just love that. So I had a talk with myself, and I went to my husband. I said, I don't want to do this. He goes, oh, he knew how sick I was. He said, honey, I'll take care of it. I'll make it happen. I go, no, I don't want to do that. And I went to my first RESA Con 3 months later. Went to RESA Con, felt like a fraud, and I was sitting, I told myself, I went stealth by myself. I was going to check it out, make sure they're really any good, or a bunch of gossipy people. Who are these people? Are they professional? You know? So I went and I sat at a different rounder, different table on each of the sessions, and everybody would say, oh, my name's this, my company's this, and I do this, and everybody's talking vacants, and I'm feeling like such a fraud. And they say, Bobbie McGrath, successful staging out of Raleigh. I just closed down my vacant division, and I specialize on the occupied side. And I was like, and they're like, and I thought they would go, you're not a real stager. How about you? You know, instead they were like, instead I was shocked. They go, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Really? Does it work? We dream about doing that. So seed was planted that day, and I started thinking about teaching others my systems, because my agents really, they love it. They say they love it. So I was like, I went through a whole process. Long story short, last year, 2019, I was very proud. I actually did like you did. I entered my Occupied Consultation Specialist program in as Product or Service of the Year, Innovative Product Service, just to practice, just to see what it was like to fill it in. Dang, if we didn't win.
Wonderful.
And so I had Lee Goldstein there winning Agent of the Year, Product of the Year. So my heart is the occupied side, and my heart are for those people who have that heart. Yeah. Because I think you have to have that heart. I know I'm kind of going a little crazy here, but
you're not. And I think that if there's any, new stager that's listening to this, or someone wanting to get into the business, to try it out, right? To see if, don't assume that you don't want to do it, because they may, I'm like you, Bobbie. I really feel good when my clients feel good, and that's what makes, well, of course, it's when the property sells. And I always say, well, this we're under the real estate umbrella. We're not on, we're design, but we're not under the design umbrella. We are under real estate. So our job is not really done until the property sells. That's when we do our Snoopy dance, right?
Yes.
So unless it's priced too high, and that's a whole nother question. A whole nother story. But it is really, and I'll bet you this happens to you. I bet your clients hug you a lot, don't they?
They do.
And they cry, don't they?
And they love me. See, that is awesome. That is awesome. I love to hear that, Ann. I love that.
They hug you. I know they do, because they're so grateful that you didn't disrespect them, that you honored who they were in their space, what they, I'm sure you have to do the same thing. What do you absolutely need? You have to compromise when you're working with Occupied, because you have to listen to what, I'm preaching to the choir here, but you have to listen, because we do a lot of Occupied too, although I haven't taken your course, which sounds wonderful. But you have to ask them, what can you not live without? That's sort of a double negative, sorry. But what do you have to have? What are the musts?
That's exactly.
You're living here. You're not going to make somebody take something, and then if it's something that is somewhat, I go, there's an A priority, a B, and a C, right? This is your A. Right, yes. You have to. Sorry, I know this is your exercise bike, but if it's in the middle of the living room, we have to figure something else out for it. So you're working with them, negotiating, compromising, honoring them, and they love that, because they feel empowered.
That's it.
Right?
That's it. They meet you at the door with trepidation. They meet you at the door with all the stories their friends have said. Oh, they're going to have you do this and rip this wall out and do this. And they come in, their friends tell them all this stuff.
Yep.
And then you come in and they're just like, I can't afford anything that they want me to do. Well, they don't yet know what it is.
No.
And there's a whole process. And I love what you say, what do you, because I say that in rooms, I'll say what absolutely has to stay.
Yes.
And then I also tell them, think of this as sophisticated counting for money. Right?
I love it.
Yeah. And so they'll go, oh, okay. And so they'll laugh about it. And I love it because little turns of phrases like that, they refer me to their friends. And when I'm in the house, I'll say, oh, think of it as, and then they'll say, Cindy told me you were going to say that. So I love your spirit. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And see, and this is another thing too, because New York, come on, a little intimidated, Raleigh, North Carolina girl here, right? Here's the deal. People are the same, right? They have those same fears. They have the same concerns. They have the same goal.
Yep.
And if we can learn to flux, and we're going to have to talk some more.
Yeah, we really are.
Yeah.
But I will say, New York City, we walk into one bedroom, I will tell you, because space is a premium, of course, it is anywhere. But in the city, because it's so expensive, if a young couple has a child and they can accommodate one child, but then they have a baby, and you walk, right. The occupied spaces we walk into, whenever I hear young children, I know that I need to spend a little more time with them because the toys and they will put up the sort of a building block spare wall for a curtain or whatever anyway, because they've busted out of their space.
Yeah, it's the
essentially.
It's with toys.
Right. And they have busted out of their space, and then there's the hoarders and all of that. But right, I mean, there are all sorts of occupied cellar stories. But so the point that I'm making is the New York City apartments that we go in to help sellers they're not beautifully designed. They're just normal people. Right. Some of them don't have terrific taste. I will not say that to their faces. But, you're working with a kind of, so there's not this, except maybe when we go into the $17 million or whatever penthouses, but we're not working with any fabulous level of, design and taste. We're just normal, right?
Yeah, it's true. And I say to my students all the time, I say, you know what? Some of the stagings that I am the most proud of, I wouldn't enter into a contest.
Exactly.
You know what? They won the contest because they got a contract and they were able to enter the market stronger than they would have before and with hope.
Yes.
So when I had a hoarder gal, and when I went to her home, I was literally in the living room and I was kind of looking around. I knew there's furniture in there somewhere. And as I walked in, all of a sudden I hear a voice, and I was like looking around, and I ran around this mound, and over in the living room in the corner were all these books and stuff all stacked up. And there's this man with a part of a desk, and he's high, and it's her husband. He's trying to work. And I was like, okay. And so she's mortified with the whole thing. She goes, I don't know anybody in the house. I said, this is my shopping center. I said, so you don't worry about that. I said, hold on now. Where's the furniture? She goes, well, sofa's over there. And I've got one chair there, and there's a chair over there. And the daughter's like, Mom, both the chairs are over here. So I said, hold on. So I'm going in and plowing through. Went through and said, keep this, keep this, keep this. They did not have extra funds to bring things in.
Yeah.
But what I loved, this is one that kind of makes me cry when I think about it.
Aww.
Because when I went back, the woman who barely opened the door and couldn't look me in the face, threw open the door, and she's like, come in.
Oh.
And it was a well-loved sofa.
Yeah.
2 very well-loved chairs that didn't match.
Yeah.
And, but you know what? She followed the plan.
Yep.
The fixed assets of the house took center stage.
Yep.
And they sold quickly, and she was so proud of herself. And I remember this, Keith, I hugged her.
Yeah.
I just looked at her because she needs a hug. I said,
yep.
You get over here. I said, oh my God. I said, you get like a 3-hug moment. I said, show me everything,
Yeah.
And being able to show her the value of the items, the humble items that she had, being able to showcase the value of what those were towards the sale of the house had her floating, just floating. And so those are the stories I love. Those are the stories I love. And you ask, why do I do the occupied side? Because of moments like that.
Oh, yeah.
Moments like that. Just, that makes the world so happy. I mean, I just, it's like I get on a high. So.
You're uplifting, and I feel the same way that you do. And I do wonder, you know, on a sort of scale, a continuum, I do wonder how many of our colleagues have the same. I know everyone on my team does, and I'm in my warehouse right now, and they're sorting through stuff in another room, but they all have the same, you know, end game, meaning that's their goal. That's what makes them, you know, the spring in their step at the end of the day when they leave, when the seller has been thrilled. What you've done not only is uplift the property, you've uplifted the people. And we can get on a whole topic of energy too. So, but that's where I go with it. You've essentially raised the frequency of the entire property and the people and the pets in it, right? You've essentially uplifted everyone, and the buyers feel it. There's a feel.
Oh, sure.
Right?
There is a spirit in a house, and there are times, and I know now this is where I get woo-woo, right, Shell?
Yeah, me too.
I'll get in and I can feel the spirit of the house. And so there are times where I'm just like, okay, I can feel there's been something not positive in that house. And so it's really the editing and navigating that becomes a whole other thing. So, oh my gosh, I got lots of stories about that too. We should do a Halloween show because I have like scary house stories. I have a scary house story that when I tell people get goosebumps. It was like, so there, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I just started watching Netflix last night. I was like, okay, I'm in a show hole. I just finished one show. I'm gonna watch something else, and it's something on Netflix now called The Haunting. Anyway, I don't want to get off on that, but yeah, and I'm like, do I really want to be scared to death? a big horror movie, but it is a good thing anyway. But it is about the spirit of the house and whatever. So. But I do think I do think that bringing that positive energy in to, you know, it is shifting what's in the property. I really do. Is shifting the energy.
I totally believe it, and I totally agree with you. There's a whole thing. More and more. My grandfather was a Pentecostal minister, and so sometimes people will say, "Oh, well, then you don't do that woo woo." I said, "But you don't understand." I said. God made woo-woo, you know? And so it's like just understanding. It's like, it's the same concepts, it's different words. And it's like, out of the way of, you know, having to have certain words to describe something. If we can get out of that and just really, so we're going into woo-woo world. Sorry.
Yeah, we are.
I tell you, Anne, you said a few words, so you're one of us. So you've said woo-woo, energy, and manifestation. So you are one of us.
Right. I didn't realize I was half in the sun in this window and half not, but you know, half of me.
There you go.
You have no idea. We should all chat about that at some point because that's one of my life goals, to continue to, you know, really up level and manifest those things that are, you know, that bring me joy and others.
I do it when I know, I wish I did it more often. I wish it was an automatic, just remembering I'm going to just take a minute and I want to put an intention out. I'm starting to just stop and put the intention. I know it all. I teach it. I tell people about it. But when it comes to me, I kind of fall back on it. But I manifested my husband saying yes to, he'd never lived anywhere but 32 miles from where he was born. So, and he'd never traveled anywhere. So you're talking big fish out of little pond water, but I got him to move and I manifested the farm. I even manifested an owl here on my property because I got some from the shelter. They worthless. Two ran away. One stayed, Mark. He's our barn cat. He just comes at night. He won't speak to anybody. He's antisocial. But at that time, when the other worthless cats ran away, I said, we just need an owl. I said, I need an owl. Can I buy an owl? I even went online to look to see if I could purchase an owl.
Yeah.
And then I realized it'd probably just fly away. So I started saving my money. And I started thinking about owls, and I even did bats too. We didn't have any bats here the first year, and we have so many bugs everywhere. The bugs in North Carolina are Jurassic compared to
name them.
California.
Oh, wow.
And they
Ask them and write them.
and they will hit you in the head, and they will not come back for a minute. So I said to myself, we need bats. And so I researched bat boxes, how to build a bat box. I was going to tell my husband to do it. So I started thinking about bats. I started thinking about owls. Then all of a sudden, one night, about 6 months ago, I heard something. And I was like, what is that? And I'm walking outside. I'm like, that sounds like a really big bird or something. And then we saw what looked like a flying dog flying across the property. It was as big as Paisley was. And then the next day, it flew in between our trees, the forest, and the side of the house. And I took Chris's head out. And he's like, got flying monkeys out here, man. We don't know what's going on. Like the Wizard of Oz. So we now have an owl named Screech.
Ooh.
And we have bats.
That is awesome.
All right. I'm going to start calling you Harriet Potter.
There you go. There you go. I like that. I like that.
If you want to manifest it, you can. I've manifested a cup of coffee before in Valley Springs in California. I have a good friend. Her name is Tilly, and she's, I don't want to misquote her age, as she's probably almost 80. But we used to cruise around. She was a really good friend. We were on the board of directors at the local area business association. We became really great friends. And I said, film this for me. And I shoved my phone in her hand. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm going to manifest a cup of coffee. And, well, what does that mean? I'm like, watch. I don't know if it'll work or not, but I'm going to try. So we drove around a little bit, and I drove into a Common Grounds drive-through coffee and ordered my coffee, and I go to hand her my debit card, and she, says, $1.50 or whatever it was, and I went, here you go, and she goes, oh, so I'm not going to charge your card for just that amount. It's on me. And then I turned and looked at Tilly, and she's like,
I hope she was recording.
you can record it. But it's you can absolutely manifest. So I mean, I definitely have. If you're staging, I can imagine stagers. You want to walk in and just put the intention that your appointment's going to go well, whether it be occupied or vacant. It's going to go well when you pitch the job, when you get the job, and then you do the job, and it's going to sell quickly. And just put it all out there, because it can't hurt. It doesn't take anything away from you, and it doesn't hurt to try to manifest.
That's true.
And it really doesn't. And I think manifesting for anybody just starting out, it's hard for me to think back to that period of time, but there were times when I was just, I was starting a business. I was kind of terrified. There were times when the phone didn't ring, and it didn't ring for a long time. I had to go out and make it ring, right? But there is something in that. When you're first starting a business, it's not just our business, but I guess any business, right? Where you can manifest clients. You can manifest clients that respect you. You can manifest a certain level of there should be an element of that in every entrepreneurial training program. Mm-hmm. There should be, don't you think?
I do. I totally agree with that. Yeah, 100%. Mm-hmm. And it's not so much woo-woo, in my opinion. I mean, it all goes into. I talk about the law of attraction a lot. I speak about it. I try to share it with people, and for some reason, people think it's just I'm gonna wish upon a star and stuff's gonna happen. It doesn't happen.
No.
It doesn't happen that way. Law of attraction is not about wishing upon a star and just waiting for stuff to happen, but it's putting positive intentions into the world, positive energy out there, and positive work. You still have to work towards things, but when you do it all together, it gets it to come to you a lot of times quicker, unless you're not ready for it. If you're not ready for it, then it's likely not to happen, but it eventually does come with you. So let me switch gears for just a minute, because I'm telling you, I know when we got on, we're like, look, 15 minutes, we're on enough. We're like at 45 minutes. So if you have 2 more minutes, I want to wrap up with one more concept, because we are legit all vibing right now, and we got a lot in common, all of us. So I had a situation this morning. I'm going to tell a really quick story, and then each of you can give me your feedback, because the question is, have you ever been in a position where you just wanted to give up on something? Not maybe legitimately like you were you were absolutely, you might have been absolutely going to cut ties and stop, or you just had the feeling like this isn't going to work. What are we going to do? You feel discouraged. So I'll give you my example first, and it's going to be, of course, about horses. So on my farm, I do boarding for other people. We've got a couple horses on the farm that need some help. One needs a lot of help. She has no ground manners whatsoever. She's a tricaner. She's just had some pretty traumatic stuff probably happen to her. She just wants to run over the top of you. So she doesn't respect space or anything like that. So she has melanoma and she needs medication. So there's two things that are going on here. One, she needs some ground manners. So it's a good opportunity for me to teach her stuff. So which means that I can give her 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 liquid medication orally in her mouth. Well, try doing that with a horse that doesn't have a lot of human trust, who just wants to get away or run over the top of you. It's very, very difficult. And she's just, I can't even reach her. She's just huge. She's like, I don't know how tall she is, but she's way taller than I am. So A, you got to catch the horse. B, then you got to halter the horse. Really good luck with that. C, then you got to take the medication and try to get it in the mouth without the horse trying to walk on top of you and trying to murder you. So I've been working with this horse for about 5 days now. And the first couple days, I thought, man, she is just, it is tough. It is tough. I'm getting run over. I got to shush her out of my way. And then yesterday, I felt so demoralized. I was like, man, this is going to be tough. And I felt defeated. And this morning when I woke up, I thought, okay, I'm going to it's a brand new day, brand new attitude. I'm just going to go out and I'm just making this happen. This is just not an option for anything not to go well today. In less than 60 seconds, I was able to walk up to this horse, halter her. She did not split amazeballs. Walked right straight up to her, haltered her, put it on, got it secured, pet her for a minute, looked her dead in the eye and said, now you're going to take your medicine, Estelle. And I put it up to her mouth, got it in there, and did it all within 60 seconds. Normally, it would take me several minutes just to even try to catch her and then once you get the halter on, probably another couple minutes to get her to settle down to even try to do it. So yesterday it was at the point where I wasn't going to give up, but I was definitely feeling defeated, like you want to give up. But I knew she needed the help, and it's going to make her a more well-rounded horse in the long run to teach her these things. And then the next day you go out and you make it happen. So I find that a lot of people give up just right before they're about to make it. Just right before something good's going to happen. And then they're never going to know because they quit. And I'm not a quitter. I just don't quit. I mean, I didn't quit in my horse competitions, and being last place 12 times for somebody who's not used to losing was a tad on the demoralizing side. I felt horrible about myself. I mean, it was really hard to come back from, but I don't quit and you keep doing it. So do either one of you have any stories that could contribute to this? If somebody was listening right now, watching and saying, I'm at that point in my business where I'm frustrated and I want to give up, what do you say? Anne, I'll start with you. You need a minute.
I need a second, because I think that's a very specific sort of give up. Well, okay. And I think this probably happens to every stager at every level. But I work, and my team, I work so hard at getting a staging correct that every now and then there is a brutal client who demoralizes, who criticizes and demoralizes everything we did. We will think we have created, and we have, an amazing, successful presentation, and a broker or the seller will come in, and I've gotten like 4 or 5 pages of notes.
Wow.
Saying, this is awful, you have to change this, why did you use something that looks so cheap? But I mean, pages of notes. And there's a moment where I actually feel like I don't know what I'm doing. right? I lose confidence.
Yep.
And I hate, I hate that, right? But it is you just shrink. You shrink. And I have to, so when this happened, I can probably count on one hand over the years, thank God. Speaking of manifesting good clients or bad clients.
Yeah.
And I remember one where this happened, and I had to go walk around the block a couple of times, deep breathing, did a little meditation in my car, and went back in, and I was so grounded. I was able to defend without being defensive.
Mm-hmm.
More just explain why their critique had everything to do with interior design, as if, a couch was supposed to be $60,000 because that was their aesthetic in terms of design, versus staging where you're really just setting up a scenario for the next buyer, and it's not about having a $60,000 couch. But I was able to go through and explain it in a very objective, calm, non-defensive way. And at the end of it, they actually said, well, that makes perfect sense.
There you go.
And I thought I was about to be fired. I thought I was about to have to take everything out and spend, you're always thinking cha-ching, right? Oh my God, now I've got to change everything because I did such a crappy job. And, I was about this big by the time they finished with me, but I just had to go into my own inner self, remind myself what I do, why I do it, why I'm good, mm-hmm. and be calm. I wasn't upset. I think that the key for me was the deep breath and the addressing it in a professional way. And you know what? Here's the other piece. Even if at the end of that they had said, it's still awful and take it all out, I would have still felt good. Because it wasn't about, it started out being that I let them demoralize me, mm-hmm. right? But don't let people do that.
That's right.
Don't let people do that. Know who you are. Know, really hold on to your own worth. That it was all about them. All about, anyway, I won't even go into it, what the place would look like to their wealthy friends. And, so it was all about them. It wasn't about me. And it really was a lesson for me. And I don't know if that's kind of the story that you're looking for, but I almost, I probably, at any other time in the business, I might have said, well, I just have to give up because I just don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that story. It's exactly the type of story I was looking for. Exactly. Okay. So many people can learn from that because it's definitely true. It's true. So Bobbie, what do you have to say about this?
Well, what I was thinking about was back when I, got that bug bite, and I was really very, very sick, and I was going through this whole thing, and everything was such a big decision. And back then it was like, to be a real stager, you had to do vacants. If you didn't do vacants, you weren't a real stager. And I had started my business on the occupied side and kind of fell into vacants because, I should have furniture. You want me to get some furniture? Okay, so I started doing it. And you know how it happens. Takes over your house, your garage, 2 units. Then you got 1 warehouse, 2 warehouses. Yep. And, and you're buying 5, 6, 7 sofas in a week.
Yep.
It took over. And so when I made that decision, and it was an active decision to step away, because my thought was I can't do this. That's what I was saying to myself at the time. Physically, I can't do this. Mentally, I just don't have it in me anymore. I just can't do this. So I was having both sides of the conversation in my head. I was telling myself I couldn't do it. And then I was telling myself all the reasons why I couldn't do it. And then I was thinking, well, maybe I could do and I don't say just consultations or just the occupied side. But I was thinking, nobody will do that. I'm having all that conversation in my head, never asked anybody any of this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't until I went to that RESA conference that I started getting confidence in that, and the idea. When they were like, oh my God, I would dream to do that. I thought, you know, it's been working well for me. When I looked at my numbers, it made sense. I mean, I made great money in my consultations. My vacants was okay, but oh, what the headaches you have to do in order to make that money. So I was like trying to decide. And so I came really close to just saying, forget it. In fact, that's why I went to the RESA conference, because I thought, it'd been me, myself, and I had brought people on, but I really hadn't truly, I'd been a member of RESA, but I hadn't truly connected yet. So I kind of felt like I was just floating out there. So once I made that connection and I saw that there were people who had real businesses and people who were willing to talk to you because they weren't afraid you're trying to steal their agents or whatever, fill in the story, it became different. But I can remember coming back and then thinking, I'll just do my business and build it up. And I did the consultation and it was building and building. But I found myself thinking, okay, I want to train other stagers because I love to teach. Everything I've ever done, I don't care what it is. And so I started putting that together. Well, then there was that hill again. And I was just give up. I was thinking, I can't do this. I don't have the tech. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. And then I just thought, you know what? I'm just going to do it. Because guess what? If it's a huge mistake, nobody will ever know because it is high on my computer, right? And there was a woman here. She's now in St. Louis. Angie Keach, if you see this, I'm talking about you, girl. She was actually one of my clients 3 times. My first students, and it was Angie who came up alongside and encouraged me. And so it was really nice to have that connection and to have someone who believed in me. So, you know, that giving up, there's sometimes where I think what we do is we isolate ourselves.
Oh, good point.
You know, we isolate ourselves thinking, oh, we have to figure everything out and we have to do all of this. And the pushback, like from a client, you know, oh, I've done something wrong. Instead of, I love what you did. You said, you know, hold your thoughts together. Let me explain my reasons. I love that. One of the things I do when I get pushback from someone, I'll listen and also tell me more about that. They don't know what to do. They're expecting me to, like, you know, become defensive.
Right.
And so when I say, tell me more about that, I listen. Then I realize where it is that I need to educate them so they can make a decision to tell me to take everything out.
Yeah.
Or I get you. So there's that isolation and there's that, I think there's a lack of like confidence. And what I realized was whenever there was an area that I didn't feel competent in and someone questioned or challenged me, that's when I became defensive.
Yes.
So, but then what I started doing was thinking, this is great. If I'm feeling defensive inside, it means I don't know enough. So I would go out and get educated. I would go out and find the education. And some of the education came from staging, the staging world, but a lot of the education came from outside. It came from the marketing world. It came from the psychology world. It came from the neuromarketing world. It came from different areas because I don't want to be like everybody else. Because if I'm like everybody else, why should they hire me? Right? So, you know, that discouraged feeling, whenever I find myself feeling discouraged, I ask myself, okay, first of all, sometimes we're just having a bad day. Sometimes, and
It's
sometimes
true.
we
It's
screw
true.
up. You know, sometimes, yeah, we did screw up.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
you fix it, you admit it, you move on. But all of that to say is when I get that real, what am I going to do? I just don't think I can do this anymore. I stop and I think, okay, this is the message. What is it? What is it? And earlier, and it's all over your picture, Shell. I mean, people do numbers, right? It's like they see numbers all the time. It means something. Right now, the number I see everywhere is 111.
Oh, manifestation.
Yes. 111 everywhere.
11, 11, 11.
Yeah, it's manifestation.
And so what's been fascinating to me is I choose to see that as whenever I see 111, it's a reminder for me to be check. What are we thinking about? Because the whole idea is it manifests. What you're thinking about will manifest itself. So, for instance, Shell behind you, look at your railings. It's all 111s, okay?
Yeah.
So So when I see those things, exactly, when I see 111, it's a brain check. And now I choose to think it's God going, girl, you need to keep your head straight.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
it can be whatever it is for you.
Mhm.
So there for a while I had to run on 5s.
Oh, 5s are great too. Change coming. Big change coming.
You know. Bye, right? So yeah, it was so funny. I was 55 years old and I live at 5.
Ooh.
What? I was doing some shows in Australia on Zoom, and it was so funny because we did this whole series of shows with Tracy McLeod, and it would have like the ID number for that, and it was like, I kid you not, like 55555221555. You know, then the next one was 555, and I was like, oh my God. So I choose to look at those things and think it's a reminder for me to think, you know.
You know, so while I love the RESACon virtual and applaud Shell, you, your team, everyone who jumped in, I have to say that it makes me sad that I can't be standing next to you, standing next to Bobbie, sitting, you know, in person, really, you know, it's not going to stop me from calling you girl. And I'm saying, you know, it would have been absolutely wonderful to have had the experience of, and we will again, but really rubbing elbows, right?
Yeah.
I look forward to that.
New York's not far from North Carolina.
No.
I know.
Just saying. And I love to drive.
Well, ladies, I cannot thank you both enough. I know we went way over, so I'm so glad that you were willing to stay on, because when you are vibing this much and talking about these great concepts, you're going to touch a lot of lives. I know people are going to watch this, and it's some people out there, it's going to be just exactly what they needed to hear. So again, I want to thank my guests today, Bobbie McGrath and Kenney. Thank you, ladies, so much. And it was an absolute pleasure to get to know you. I know I'll say that on behalf of Bobbie as well. You are definitely one of us. So I just appreciate the both of you. And for everybody else, thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned for more information out there on the internet, in our Facebook groups and whatnot. And today is not a time to isolate with all of COVID. So get involved in a RESA chapter. If you don't have one in your area, start one. Keep going to those meetings. A lot of them are being done virtual, and this is not the time to isolate. Keep involved, because once COVID recovers from everything, you're going to want to hit that ground running and be available for it.
Hear, hear.
Yeah. Until next time, everybody, happy staging. Thanks, y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.